25 protesters have been arrested after a standoff with police at the James Price Point gas hub site in the Kimberley.
One man even handcuffed himself to a bulldozer. Police had to use an angle grinder to release him.
The state government has proposed new laws aimed at preventing dangerous behaviour amongst protesters. The Criminal Code Amendment Bill 2015 prohibits the possession of things that aid in the prevention of lawful activity.
If we're talking about things in particular, it is a very broad term that can encompass a wide number of articles. You know, we've talked about shoes, we've talked about maps, you know, we've talked about a GPS. You know, these are things, but these things could encompass things which are used with intent to trespass, for example. So it's extremely broad term and has been criticized widely.
So one of the issues that's been brought up is that, for example, a farmer with a padlock or a chain in his car that's used around the farm could be arrested or charged for having that thing, whatever that is, in their car because they might lock onto their gate and lock their gate with it. So the other thing is you could use a lot of things to stop lawful activity, which is anyone doing their business, including your own body. So some lawyers have even been saying that the body of someone's body could be considered a thing, and that just using your body to stop like a march in the street or a sit-in an office could be considered under this bill.
You will be arrested and removed with as much force as is necessary.
Legislation is so vaguely worded, possession of a thing, who knows what that could potentially be used for, and who knows what circumstances that could be used to undermine people's democratic rights.
We believe as a government that while people have their democratic right to protest, companies and employees of those companies also have the right to conduct their business. So, Mr Speaker, we've introduced legislation that will now make it an offence for people to possess, manufacture or use one of these lock-on devices that can prevent the lawful activity of other people. That offence will be punishable by up to 12 months imprisonment and or a $12,000 fine.
Lisa Harvey talks a lot about the need to protect lawful activity, but one thing you've got to remember is there's actually quite a few times where developers or others actually use, in an unlawful way, seek to demolish heritage buildings or destroy forests where they don't have the legal authority to do so. And these kinds of lock-on tactics have actually been used to prevent unlawful activity, and whereas this legislation will be used against those people. So I don't think we should be sort of denying any tactic that actually can help to win improvements in the environment and improvements for social justice.
You know, if the government did want to outlaw certain devices, then they could certainly, you know, put that on the agenda and then we would consider it. But in this case, this is not the bill that's before us.
The state government hopes that the legislation will reduce the number of instances where emergency services and resources are required to free protesters from dangerous situations.
The cost in terms of emergency services, yeah, of course I'd prefer we didn't have to spend those resources socially, but the cost is actually a small price to pay compared to the cost to the damage to our environment if these potentially lawful activities, but also very damaging activities, are allowed to go ahead unchallenged.
Me as a taxpayer, I believe that emergency services are there in the event that someone needs help. And in this case, there's a lot of things that could have occurred apart from that person being brought down from the ropes. These are points of contention of society. And in democratic society, we have peaceful means of raising those issues when they come to a head like that. And emergency services are there to serve us all.
Another point of contention is that the new law reverses the onus of proof.
Well, it's completely over the top. It's completely unacceptable. The reversal of onus of proof has been used in a couple of other circumstances, but we don't think it's warranted in this circumstance. In fact, shouldn't everyone be presumed innocent until the prosecution makes its case that they aren't? It's a very extraordinary step to take against this type of action to remove the presumption of innocence.
This feels like a sort of a human right that there is always the innocent until proven guilty, and this counts for all types of offences in criminal law, yet now they want to reverse that for peaceful protest. So that's why even groups like the Criminal Lawyers Association and the Law Society are standing up and opposing this law.
This year, 2015, is the 800th anniversary of the signing of the Magna Carta. And the Magna Carta was the document that brought in this the right to be innocent until, the presumption of innocence until proven guilty. And obviously these laws aren't the first laws that undermine that right, but these are significant. This is a significant attack on that right, and that's terrible. That's undermining 800 years of people's rights to be presumed innocent.
Simone Van Hatem is the co-starter of an online petition aimed at abolishing the legislation.
Jess Beckling and I started the petition on the community-run website about a week and a half ago when we heard about the anti-protest laws being pushed through Parliament. So got that up on the community-run website and got a very quick response, started getting into the thousands within a few days. Currently it's at over 9,000, heading towards 10,000 supporters really quickly. So we're just going to continue getting as many signatures as possible, but at some stage we plan to have a media conference and a coalition of people who oppose this bill present this petition to Colin Barnett, the Premier.
I asked whether the proposed legislation should be adjusted or scrapped altogether.
These laws are very dangerous and they should be opposed outright. They should be rejected totally by the Parliament. I think in a similar way to when Barnett tried to bring in also undemocratic stop and search laws a few years ago, those laws could not be improved, could not be rectified. They were inherently undemocratic. They were rejected by the Parliament. The Parliament should reject these laws in a similar way.
I'd like to see it thrown out. I'd like to see the government go back to the drawing board. I think it's clear they made no attempt to consult on this. It doesn't come out of a review of whether it's required or not. There are a range of offenses you could already apply to these people, and they are. There's no shortage of charges for protesters.
We do think people will still continue protesting. It will put some people off, and the fact that it puts people off for peaceful protest goes against our democratic system, and protest has always been part of democratic system and is very much part of that process. So it might put people off, but we think that people are standing up very strongly against things, including issues like fracking. We still believe farmers will do everything they can to protect their farms and their groundwater against fracking.
Protesters will continue to make their voices heard because this is sometimes the only way you can get your voice heard.
Following the anti-association laws passed last year, this law would further curtail the democratic rights of citizens. I'm Madeleine Quy, reporting for Undercurrent.